waste my life. I don't wanna waste my life. I don't wanna waste my life. Living in this world. It's just some things, there's no going back. You know what I'm saying?
jwoodbeats.com.
Yeah, I'm not the one with the issues. I hear you. Now here is your tissue. If I'm moving too fast, I might have to dismiss you. And it's really too bad, cause I really will miss you. But I'm not the one with the issues. I left him at church when I made it official. I murdered the curse with my own benediction. Left God in the dirt, call it death of the fiction. Superstition will be served in eviction. Competition will be left in the ditch. Oh my God, it's too damn hot in this kitchen. The fishes of men are now swimming with fishes. Oops, my bad, I guess I'm moving too vicious. Verses sold, I gotta put them on your wish list. Bless my soul, cause I'm dodging your little hit list. I guess you know, you just lost another witness.
Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, I'm out of here. I can do anything, fuck your opinions and energy. I finally got the epitome, my biggest hindrance was God can't do nothing but fail. Greater is me, I never needed your deity. All of this human capacity, when it gets rough, I can pick myself up and prevail. Cause I don't need anything other than people who fuck with me. Good business, it starts with good company. That's why your boy is obsessed with community. Cause greater is we can create opportunity. Doing what God never did, cause a God never could, but a people is all we need. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, yeah. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go.
What's up, family? Happy Sunday. Welcome in wherever you're watching from. Welcome to Bridge City Global. We're so glad to be here for another conversation. We're a community of people from all over the world committed to building something real, community beyond superstition. I'm Darante LaMar, and I'm so glad that you're here with us for another powerful edition of Sunday Sessions. Whether this is your first time or you're part of the day ones, man, you're in the right place. Since March of this year, this community has exploded to more than 11,000 subscribers across 6 continents. Drop some fire in the chat if you think that's something worth celebrating, because I'm telling you, I do. That's why we had a celebration this weekend, man. If you missed it, the good news is it was on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it. But that means that right now, as you're watching, you're part of something bigger than just a live stream. You're a part of a global movement. And y'all, before we dive in, huge love, major shout out to everybody who supports this movement. If these conversations have ever challenged, encouraged, or made you think differently, consider dropping a super chat or hitting up the Cash App. And all of that information is in the description, because it helps keeps this space going strong, man. And since community is at the heart of what we do, let's connect. Drop a quick introduction in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from, who you are, and if you create content, drop your link. Now, again, please let us know where you're watching from, because guess what we do? We keep all of that information on the map so we can see where we have growing hubs at, so we can make sure we're investing attention into those areas. Speaking of which, we have been planning Bridge City weekends. Most of you are already in the know that those have been postponed while we are recalibrating. But I'm so excited about the recalibration. If you haven't already, go check out the new Bridge City Riley website. I think you're going to be excited about how we're adjusting our plans. And it's not just going to be for Raleigh. For every place that we have those hubs at, we're going to go ahead and release these websites so that people can express interest and say, yes, I'm in Detroit. I want to be a part of community and I want to volunteer, so that we can build that strong interest, so that by the time we go into those cities, whether it's Detroit, whether it's Chicago, whether it's Raleigh, whether it's Portland, whether it's LA, whether it's San Francisco, whether it's Atlanta, Birmingham, wherever it is, by the time we go, we already know that we have 30 to 50 people already there who are committed to either being a part of the community and another at least 10 to 15 who are committed to building the community. So we're really excited about that. We've made some updates on the website, so make sure you check that out. Just the regular BridgeCity website. The thing is coming along, is looking beautiful, if I must say so myself. It's one of the many hats that I am forced to wear at this moment, as we're still in the early stages of growth. The biggest problem is, and if you feel me on this, please type it in the chat. The biggest problem is we've grown too fast, right? Like, we've grown faster than I can actually keep up with. So I've had to put on more hats than I can handle. And you know what they used to say, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So I guess, what is the head that wears a whole bunch of damn hats? Because I got a bunch of them on right now, and it's heavy. But anyway, we're really excited. As you can tell, I'm kind of overflowing with effervescent excitement. But listen,
I love the voice.
It's that Kyle Barker. It's that Barker magic. Join the conversation in our Discord campus and introduce yourself there. We love to get to know you and love to get connected with you. If you get here early today, you should have pulled up to the pre-session meet and greet in Discord. It's the perfect space to meet fellow members, vibe out, and get to know the community before the session starts. Now, of course, before we dive in, let's make sure you're fully tapped into this movement. So, like the video, it helps more people find us. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. What are you waiting for? And then, of course, hit that notification bell, so that way you never miss a session. And then check out the poll in the chat. Let us know if you're a first-time guest or if you're a regular. You know, every time you try to leave, something keeps pulling you back. You're back, telling me I need. Okay, I'm sorry. I was about to. I remember. Well, actually, I just remember Tyrese's part on Chingy's song. I don't remember much about Chingy, except that he was a grown man named Chingy. Let me stop.
I used to mix him and Lil Zane up.
I used to mix him and a lot of people up. You know, it's just like, see, I'm gonna say something that's gonna get me canceled by hip hop fans, so I'm gonna stop. But also, support, join, or connect in any way that makes sense for you. Your engagement keeps this community thriving. And if you find this community and these conversations valuable, take a second to share the screen. There's someone out there today who needs secular community, who's looking for real connections, and your simple share might be the lifeline that they didn't even know they needed. And so, if you are sharing this, if you just shared this, would you let us know in the chat by typing "I shared this"? That way, you're letting us know that you shared it, and you're letting other folks know. All right, now let's get into it. Welcome to Bridge City. Let's get ready for Bridge City News.
Woo, woo.
Hey guys, you got me on today, huh? Let's see. Bridge City News. I'm late getting this thing. Here we go. What's up, Bridge City? It's Sunday. My name is Dr. Troy Stober, and I'm your host for this weekend's edition of Bridge City News, helping you in the know and plugged in and all things happening in our community. Okay, first things first. Whether you're new here or whether you've been rocking with us for a while, drop a comment and let us know how you're tuning in from, where you're tuning in from. One of our biggest goals is to identify local hubs of support so we can keep expanding our mission of building community beyond superstition, and this starts with you. As you know, many of you are looking forward to an in-person Bridge City weekends. We are hitting pause for now to recalibrate and build a stronger foundation for further gatherings. We're revamping the website to collect interest in target cities and make sure we've got solid local support before we roll out those events in full force. Missed our latest community conversation? Catch up now. We talked about recalibrating for impact for success, and trust me, you'll want to hear what's next. Check it out and get excited for what's about to come. Tonight, we have the ex-pastor call-in show at 5 Central. We look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be a great one. Wednesday at 5 Central, Bible study with an ex-pastor. If you've never been, you're missing out. It's always an eye-opening conversation, so make sure you're there. Let's see. I think that's pretty much what I got. Not too much else for... Oh, here we go. Did you know that our sister network, the Daily Atheist Media Network, hosts a morning show that is filled with engaging, people-centric conversation? If you're looking for a lighthearted good time with three of the coolest atheists you'll ever know, then every day grab a cup of joe and join the Daily Atheist Morning Show. All right. That's about all I can read on my cell phone today. It was last minute. So back to you guys.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back to, of course, it's our Sunday sessions. And of course, I'm kind of in the dark over here, but we're going to make it do what it do. I actually wasn't planning on doing a music portion today. And then, right after we kind of wrapped up our notes and everything, I came by the piano and I had this little medley, one of those things that came to mind. And I wanted to share a little bit of this with you. This one will be short, but I think it goes in line with what we're talking about today and how we're closing out this conversation. I'm going to play around with it a little bit and we'll see. Did I freeze up on y'all? All right, here we go. I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I can't tell you what will work, I can't tell you what won't hurt. I can share these lessons learned from my emptiness, and I don't know what will go wrong, and I won't dwell on that for long. What I know is that I gotta keep moving, 'cause I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I'm on the edge of something incredible, and I feel I'm running on empty, but don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. And I tell you I've done it on empty. And I tell you I'm running on empty, yeah. I'm running on empty. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Like I told you, it would be brief, but I wanted to share that, and I hope it did something for you. And I'll jump over into the other side of the studio so we can get this conversation started. Every time I hear that song, man, it does something to me. I can remember the moment that I sat at the keyboard and started working on those words. And they're so real, they're so relevant,
so raw.
So raw. Look at it. That's another R word. And especially for where we are as a community, because we are on the edge of something incredible. And just honestly, I've been feeling like I've been running on empty for a very long time. But the flip side is, don't feel sorry for me, because I'm really just getting started up. And the beautiful thing about it is, looking at, like I said, I feel like I'm running on empty. But if we did all of this on empty, oh man, like I oh my goodness, I wish we were all in the room together right now so we could just feel that for a moment. But if we did all of this on empty, if we got to 11,000 subscribers on empty, if we built this Discord on empty, if we've been producing content regularly on empty, I can only imagine what's going to happen when we get full a little bit, when you get a little satisfied. And so, forgive me for preaching a little bit too early and stuff, but I just want to encourage somebody out there, especially if you're one of those people who've been out here, you've been making it happen, and you're running on empty. Man, that's power. That is strength. You are something incredible. And this community exists to make sure that you get to see what it looks like once you actually get a full tank. Because if you're doing all of this on empty, man. Oh, okay. So super excited, y'all. I told you, I think this is going to be a great conversation. We do have a super chat. You gotta love it. Put it back up for me. There we go. Super chats. Go here, peeps, love and sausage. Major shout out to Muttley, who's one of our biggest supporters. Not only does Muttley drop super chats in regularly, Muttley is also a patron supporter as well, man. And so just major shout out to all of our patrons. As a matter of fact, I was going to say that later, but I'll go ahead and hit that now. Huge love to all of our patron and super chat fam. Y'all make this possible. Every live session, we aim for a minimum of $100 in donations so we can keep building. And so if you believe in what we're doing, hit that super chat or cash app to fuel this work. We are entirely grateful for every person who likes the stream, shares it, comments and gives and volunteers and supports. It is your support that makes this possible. All right.
Yes.
All right. So now back to the conversation.
And shout out to Kyle again on the back end and the front end. We appreciate you.
Oh my goodness. Doing the damn
Dale,
thing.
Muttley,
PC, Dale, Muttley, everybody in the chat. Yes, John, full tank with high octane fuel. Let's get there. All right, y'all. So back to this conversation. Welcome everyone to today's conversation. We're excited to dive into a topic that is so personal and yet so universal. It's a topic that impacts every one of us in a world that is constantly evolving, and that is how we see ourselves. You see, our self-image, the way that we view ourselves, isn't just a matter of vanity or superficiality. It's at the core of how we move through the world. It affects the decisions we make, the relationships we form, the risks we take, and the way we show up for others. Today, we're going to explore how our worldview, which is shaped by our upbringing, education, and experiences, shapes how we see ourselves and our capacity.
Yes. And before we get into the deep dive into the really good stuff, I want to pose a question for you to think about throughout today's session, and honestly in your personal time as well. Have you ever really stopped and thought about and looked into the lens through which you view yourself? Have you ever thought about that? How do I view myself daily in every capacity that I'm in? Do you ever wonder if it's distorted or clouded by outside influences such as culture, media, past experiences, and things of that nature? So this question is the questions we're going to explore and get more into today. And so it's definitely going to be an eye-opener. So make sure you stay tuned. And when we look in today's world, so much of how we see ourselves is influenced by different information, and you have so many avenues of that information, right?
Yes.
And representations that we consume daily, and of course, the social media, which we're on here.
Right now. Here we go.
News outlets, even stories that you hear from other people, your friends, your loved ones. It can impact how you define your worth, your potential, even sometimes in the workplace, how your co-workers and your leaders respond to you can affect that as well. So, but here's the thing that we want to look at. Just like we can clean our glasses because we have them on, we have to clean them often, okay? And to see clearly, we can also actively clean the lens through which we see ourselves.
That's right. And so this conversation isn't about pointing fingers or blaming others for how you've been or how we've been conditioned to view ourselves. It's about empowering you to take control of your self-perception and recognize that the way you see yourself can be a choice. It's about creating a new, healthier lens, one that allows you to see your full capacity and your true worth. Yeah. Today, we're going to dive into how factors like mental health, cognitive biases, emotional states, and societal pressures shape the way we view ourselves. And just like the Watcher from the Marvel's What If series, we're going to take a step back, observe, and learn to recognize the influences that have been shaping us even without realizing it. And so are you ready to get real and take a good hard look at how you've been seeing yourself? Let's go. The name of today's conversation, y'all know how we do. I like for you to put this in the chat. The name of today's conversation. Welcome Bill Castle to being one of our members. Oh, yes. That is beautiful. We got a new member,
Thank
Bill
you.
Castle. Whoop, whoop. We're making it today. What's today's conversation, y'all? Mirror madness. If you're not too mean, if you're not too bougie, if you're not too rude, will you go ahead and type mirror madness in the chat? And if you real hood with it, I dare you to tag somebody. And if you just got one of them creative minds, I would love to see if you could get some emojis and do some emoji mirror madness.
Your neighbor, you know, you used to high five your neighbor. You could throw the hands up and high five virtually. Man. Okay.
There we go. Mirror madness. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I love it.
And so before we get even further again into it, we want to define self-perception. What is that anyway? So when we think about self-perception, we're talking about the way we see and understand ourselves. And so it embodies our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings about who we are, how we show up to the world, our abilities, all of that. It shapes how we approach challenges and our sense of self-worth and how we interact with others. So it's the internal lens through which we evaluate our identity and our worth. And it's so deeply intertwined within our experiences, our emotions, and the way we process information.
So whether you're watching this now or later, go ahead and let us know what social, cultural, or media influences have impacted your self-view. Again, not the way that you see others, but I love it. Y'all are doing it. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for those mirrors. How, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? How and what social, cultural, or other influences have shaped that?
You know what? That just reminded me of Home Alone, which is one of my favorite holiday movies. He in the mirror like,
yeah.
That's how we
oh man. So let's talk about how let's start with mental health. So I said we're going to talk through mental health, cognitive biases, and emotional state. That's what we want to start at first. And so so mental health has a profound impact on how we see ourselves, right? So there are mental health conditions like depression or anxiety can significantly alter how we view ourselves. For instance, depression often leads individuals to have a negative self-perception where they may feel inadequate, unworthy, or incapable, even when there's evidence to the contrary. Conversely, someone with good, quote unquote, mental health is more likely to see themselves in a balanced light, acknowledging strengths and weaknesses without overemphasizing either. But this can also impact, it can cause a distorted self-view. And a lot of this stuff is things that I've actually lived through myself. I've battled with depression and anxiety the majority of my life, but I spent the majority of that time calling those demons and calling that doubt and calling that the enemy of God, instead of just recognizing that your boy was in trouble, instead of just recognizing that your boy needed help, instead of just recognizing that I had been impacted by the trauma in my life. And it was the first book that I wrote. Oh, that's beautiful, Pragmatic Crystal. Thank you. It was the first book that I wrote entitled Significant, where I actually started processing that distorted self-view that I had of myself. Because actually, when I first wrote the book, the name of the book was Insignificant. Because that's how I felt. The book was about my own insignificance. The book was about me wrestling with the fact that I had spent so much of my life feeling disposable, dispensable, like I could just be thrown away, like nobody needed me. There was no value. Which had led to a lot of other underlying issues. And so that first book was me processing that stuff through, because a lot of times anxiety can cause overthinking and self-doubt, you know, and these two things can be hard to deal with by themselves. But when you combine overthinking with self-doubt, this is it I hate to use it always, but I have to use it always. It's always going to lead to self-destruction. It's always going to lead to self-destructive habits, self-sabotaging. You're going to sabotage your relationships with people because of your overthinking and your self-doubt. And a lot of times, even the sabotaging relationships with people, it's not even you doing the destroying. It's you bowing down so much that you no longer become a human in that relationship. I am preaching better than y'all are responding right now. The big point is when you combine overthinking and self-doubt, it becomes incredibly damaging to your self-perception, where individuals view themselves through a lens of fear or worry, believing that they will fail or be judged negatively.
Yes.
This leads to an identity that is marked by insecurity. I hope this.
And I'm glad you highlight this, because you kind of got into that last year, being confident enough, like, hey, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to get up and start my videos again on my channel and overcome those things, those qualms that first existed. So I love that. And so that was looking at it from how mental health can impact self-perception. And so we're going to look at a few ways that cognitive biases impact our self-perception. And so, as many of us know, when you're talking with people or you're dealing with yourself, we often seek out or look for information that already confirms or supports our pre-existing beliefs, right? It's like, hey, agree with me. So a lot of your research may be things that already agree with you, and you discount the ones that don't, right? And so when it comes to self-perception, this bias means that we have a negative view of ourselves. We may subconsciously look for experiences that reinforce a certain belief. For example, someone who believes they are bad at relationships may focus on the failures in their past relationships and ignore instances where they had positive experiences or moments of growth. And that is so we see it prevalent every day. It kind of happens often, right?
Yes.
Another one is self-serving biases can impact your self-perception.
Oh, yes.
And so that this bias involves attributing positive outcomes to ourselves and blaming external factors for negative outcomes. For instance, someone might take credit for a promotion, thinking it's due to their own efforts, but blame a failure on circumstances beyond their control. So while this can be empowering in some cases, it can also distort a person's self-perception if it leads to inflated egos or deflects responsibility, right? And we see that happen when it comes to just everyday life. It could be from issues with the car, issues like we say here with employment or anything of that nature. We find reasons of, if it lends the positive way, we say, oh, we can easily point out, okay, these are the positive things that happen, but something goes negative or not in our way, then we have a hard time of saying, oh, what could I take responsibility for? So,
absolutely.
And the third one we want to highlight is attribution bias. So how we explain our behavior can greatly affect our self-perception. For example, when we fail at something, we might attribute it to a lack of ability, internalizing that failure as a reflection of who we are, rather than considering the external factors like a difficult situation or a lack of resources. So when we succeed, we may give all the credit to external factors, overlooking the role we played in the success. These biases shape our self-esteem and how we perceive our actions and potential. And that is so prevalent, because that reminds me of in church, at least from those that I've been surrounded by, every time if something good happened to them or someone else, someone can say, oh yeah, thank you so-and-so for sending this amount, or thank you for helping me out to get to work today. And they say, oh no, God did that. God helped me. They always bypass, someone can be faking it, and then they overturn that or overlay that. It has to end with attributing everything back to God. And so that to me affects self-esteem. And we wonder why people have issues.
And that's definitely one of the biggest things that I've tried to highlight on this channel with the content that we do here, because that was a part of my process, is recognizing that, dang it, these religions, as good intention as they sound like they are, this stuff is incredibly damaging to individual autonomy and agency. Because like I tell you, I wrestled for years with depression and anxiety. And I was also the person, while wrestling with depression and anxiety, who every time you saw me had a smile on my face. All the time, had a smile on my face. And anything that I ever did that was good, if someone tried to compliment me, I'd always respond with glory to God. Glory to God. Oh, glory goes to God.
It couldn't be me because I'm nothing. And why do you teach people I'm nothing?
Nothing. And it's so weird. Like I said, we I wouldn't sing Amazing Grace when I was a kid or when I was an adult because I didn't like the words. I'm a wretch, saved a wretch like me. That, I guess the word was too old, because I had no problem singing I'm nothing without you. Wow. Had no problem singing that. Had no problem singing I give myself away. Had no problem singing any of that until after I deconverted and realized, oh, this is crazy. This is why I'm dealing with all of these issues. Yes. This is like, constantly, oh my goodness.
Putting yourself down.
Yes.
And you're lower. You got to put someone else higher who you never met.
Oh yeah. Like can't see this person. Can't see this person at all. All right. So let's talk about emotional state a little bit. And how it has an impact on our perspective. Our emotions, whether positive or negative, significantly influence how we see ourselves. When we're happy, content, and calm, we tend to have a more positive view of ourselves. But when we're stressed, anxious, or upset, we can be more self-critical and less confident. For example, during a period of emotional distress, someone may have difficulty seeing their own strengths or even recognizing their worth, focusing instead on their flaws or perceived failures. And I see we got another super chat. Wow, God gets too much credit, but not enough blame. Preach, Bill Castle. Thank you for those $2. Thank you. That's a whole word. That's a whole word. Pragmatic Crystal. Yes, that's beautiful. Yes.
If you haven't already, go ahead, fill out that poll. Don't forget, we love to hear and see if it's your first time or if you've been joining us constantly for multiple Sunday sessions. So
absolutely.
Let us know.
And you know what? This is Switzerland. That is beautiful. Wow. Please, y'all, make sure we get that starred in the chat so I can get that added to the map. Matt, which part of Switzerland are you in, man? That's beautiful. I promise you, I won't stalk you. I won't stalk you. I mean, I might if you want me to. I might, but no, that is absolutely beautiful. This is what I love about this community. Man.
Hello.
Oh, Namibia. Yes, from the motherland. Come on now. Let's make sure we get that star too. I love this because we're here for real conversations. If you're feeling this, take a second to support this work, man. Whether it's $5, $10, whatever you can, it fuels everything you do. Let's hit our goals every weekend. German Park, border. Wow, my goodness, there's some history there.
Yes.
Well, yeah, man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love this community. All right, so let's now on to mood congruency. Emotional states also play a role in mood congruency, where our current emotions align with the way we view ourselves. A person who's experiencing sadness, sorry, y'all, give me a moment. Okay. A person who's experiencing sadness or frustration may see themselves as broken or incompetent, which reinforces that negative self-perception. On the other hand, when feeling happy or proud, a person is likely to view themselves through a more positive lens, strengthening their self-confidence and self-respect. Okay. Oh, that's good. So now we're going to talk about how these things, mental health, cognitive biases, and emotional state interact with our sense of identity.
Yeah. So our self-perception is not static, right? It is fluid and constantly evolving, influenced by the way we process our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. So this interplay affects the identity we form for ourselves. And so if we look at mental health, the state of our mental health provides the foundation of our self-perception. And so continue to think, what is my self-view? Am I healthy in that way? And having a positive mental health foster an open and self-compassionate view, whereas mental health struggles can create a filter through which everything, especially ourselves, is viewed negatively. And something I was reading before had mentioned that you have to give yourself grace and give yourself compassion, especially when you're reevaluating yourself, looking at how well you did maybe the previous year or throughout your entire existence.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do well giving other people more consideration or more compassion more than you give yourself. And so those are some of the things you want to think about. And having the cognitive biases, a lot of these biases are shortcuts our brain takes to simplify decision making. And don't we want decision making to be easy? We simplify like, yeah, I'll just do this, but we don't get into the deeper thought of that. But however, these shortcuts often distort our perception of reality and lead to a more skewed self-view. And being aware of these biases is crucial in mitigating their impact on our identity.
You know, it just made me think about how some of these biases towards ourselves develop, right? And the thought that I just had is, at some point, the voice in your head has to shift from being a parent to a partner. I want to say that one more time.
Love that.
At some point, the voice in your head has to shift from being a parent to being a partner. After several years of counseling individuals, I've begun to observe that a lot of people, the voice in their head is always a voice of judgment. It's always a voice of disappointment. It's always a voice of critique, criticism. And of course, it's not everybody, right? Everybody doesn't have this issue. So if you don't have this issue, you're one of the lucky ones. But for the rest of us who know what that feels like, that every time you do something wrong, you go to parent mode in your head instead of partner mode. You go, look at you, you messed up again. Look at you, I knew you weren't going to get it right. You go straight into that critical parent mode instead of hearing yourself and seeing yourself. And I said, no, bro, I got you. Okay, we messed up right here, but we zigged when we should have zagged, but we're going to get right back up here and keep going. You know, it is okay to give some grace to yourself. It is, you know what I'm saying? So like, I often encourage people to, like, whatever you're dealing with in your life, I tell people it's visual, to pour yourself out on the table, right? Everything, all the things you like, all the things you don't like, pour all of you out on the table without judgment, because you will begin to realize, most people have never got naked with themselves. I'm preaching better than y'all are responding. Most people are really good at most people are voyeurs in other people's lives. You can see everything about their life, but you will not stand in the mirror and look at yourself naked to save your life, because you're so afraid of what you're going to see, because you keep looking down on yourself as a parent instead of a partner. Oh man, and this is, I'm sorry, I'm in mode right now, but this is why so many people struggle. This is why so many people struggle in relationships, right? Is because you become the parent in your own head, never becoming a partner in your own head, which makes it more difficult for you to be a partner with others. You see how that makes sense? You see how that works together?
That's good, Kenny. Great reminder. Gotta be gentle with ourselves.
Gotta be gentle with ourselves. Is it always the same direction? Nobody ever said zag when they should have zigged. I love it. Well, you know, it makes me think of the little boy from Game of Thrones. He should have did some zigging and some zagging. You never run a straight line when people are behind you with an arrow. But no, like this conversation is getting good, man. So now let's kind of talk about emotional state again in this same context. Our emotions are like the lens through which we view ourselves, often coloring our perception of who we are based on how we feel in the moment. And, you know, do that thought experiment for a moment and ask yourself, you know, how has the way that I felt about myself changed from moment to moment, and how did my emotions impact that? Like, you know, for those of you who may have been in, maybe you did sports before, Maybe you did performance. How maybe you did something and you won. How did you feel about yourself then? And then think about another moment where you lost something, and how did you feel about yourself then? And then it goes back to what Baby Girl said earlier. That's when you really get that observable evidence that self-perception is not static. It is fluid. There are but sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. You know what I'm saying? There are some days you can feel like you're on top of the world, and there are other days that you can feel like you are lower than low can get. And one of the most beautiful things you can do is to be gentle to yourself through those moments. We got another super chat, folks. We are on a roll today. I freaking love this community, man. Left-handed Jedi for $2 says codependency is being unfair to both partners. That is so good. That is so good. Yes, Uhuru Dunn, welcome in, man. Oh man. So our emotional resilience and capacity to regulate emotions contribute to a more grounded and a stable sense of our identity, understanding that perception can be in flux. So in the context of this conversation, we'll examine how these factors can feed into a cycle of either self-doubt, self-assurance, or self-empowerment. Whether we are clouded by negativity or energized by positivity, our perception of ourselves shapes how we navigate the world. As we move forward, let's remember that these factors don't define us permanently. A saying that I had to wrestle with even when I was a pastor was failure is an event, not a person.
And that's good. One of the things that got me thinking about that early on is when I went to college, I read the Scholar Letter, and I did my entrance into University of Maryland essay on that. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I was pulling from is, why does this person have to be stained for the rest of their lives, you know? Yeah. And that's how we sometimes view things, as a stain that you can't get out.
Yeah.
You can't get off.
It's a very interesting thing. And it is something that I found myself pushing back against more and more, especially as I begin to understand more about the world. But we do tend to we tend to put our expectations on other people, right? Yeah. And one thing I've kind of gotten clear about in my life is I don't owe you my life. I don't owe you my I don't owe you my preferences. Like I don't have to submit to your expectations. Like I existed without you, didn't need you to exist. So like, you know, people comment and say, oh, I'd prefer it if you didn't cuss. Then find somebody that didn't cuss, motherfucker. Like I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. Like I don't, and I literally tell people this, I don't exist for you. And regardless of how much you think you're saying something nice, you are being a jackass by trying to control what another human being does or doesn't do that absolutely has no fucking impact on you. You need to grow the fuck up. See, I'm really comfortable telling people that, you know, because I've stopped masking. I've stopped hiding. I am who I am, and I don't owe anybody else's my experience. My life is my life. My experience is my experience. The way I want to experience it is the way that I want to experience it. I hate that people have gotten to that place where they just feel like, you know, you have to have an opinion about everybody. I remember one day I was watching something. I think we was watching T.I. Tiny's Family Hustle or something. And I was just mad because I was like, T.I. is such a bright man. Why is he married to Tiny? And I mean, like, I was mad. Like, I was going off, snapping. Like, oh my goodness, how could he? Why is he? Yeah. And then, like, in the middle of that, I just started feeling like a jackass because I was like, that's not my wife. Yeah. I'm not T.I. That's not my life. Why do I even fucking have an opinion? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know, I love that. So, dang, that was a good rabbit trail.
But people don't see how rude that is because you took the time to come on to someone else's channel and make a comment. You could just not watch.
Yes, like you can go somewhere else. You know, like, and honestly, when I was a believer, I was like that too. People ask all the time, do you cuss more now that you're not a believer? I'm like, no, I cussed when I was a believer. Let's get something really clear. All believers don't believe the same thing. All believers don't believe the same thing, right? So I cussed as a believer. I honestly felt that people who who thought something was wrong with cussing was childish.
Yeah.
Like that, they never got me with that one. Like it didn't work for me, because it's like, how is shit a bad word, but shoot isn't? So at that moment, you're no longer talking about the definition, you're talking about vowels. So this isn't a cuss word, this is a cuss vowel. Wow, thank you, man.
So much.
I'm gonna say 8 out of 8. 8 out of 8.
We appreciate
and that's SARs. I don't know what SARs are, but thank you. $7.99. That is absolutely beautiful. I love y'all. Y'all are beautiful. I know that's right. Since I became an adult and grown-ups couldn't tell me what to do. I know that's right. Well, it was actually Patty and Nancy, the Apostate Sisters, and they have a great video on this, and I do encourage y'all to check it out if you haven't. They have a great video on this about where they combine this idea of cussing with bodily autonomy. And I'm like, oh my God. Wow. When other people are literally controlling the words that come out of your mouth. Yeah. Like, dang. But you remember I tell you, one of my elders at my church one time, we were out in public and somebody cussed and she started holding her ears like her ears were burning. She did not last at my church long after that.
She an adult.
Because I find stuff like that to be incredibly like immature. And honestly, this is just me, and this is a flaw. I'm about to show y'all kink in my armor. I stopped trusting you after that. Yeah. If I notice that you have a very childish way of approaching the world, if I see it, I can't see and not know. Like if I know it, like I'm now held accountable to that information. And so like I couldn't trust anything. Like, I'm like, I don't think you hear from God. You know?
Right.
All right. So as we move forward, so whether we're clouded by negativity or energized by positivity, our perception of ourselves shapes how we navigate the world. And so as we move forward, let's remember that these factors don't define us permanently. That's where we were. Our ability to shape, shift, and reframe our worldview and self-perception is within our control. Yes. Just like the Watcher in the Marvel multiverse, because y'all know that's how we open this thing up. We can step back and observe ourselves from a neutral vantage point. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be neutral with yourself? You know, that like I like this ain't a, you know, well, it is personal growth. I'd say one of the biggest strengths that I've attached myself to over the past decade is learning how to be neutral with myself.
Yeah.
You know, everybody else has these charged opinions. Everybody else has these charged, you know, attitudes and stuff. When it comes to me dealing with me, I always take a neutral approach. And I'm gonna tell you why. It's because I want to get it right. It's because I value me that much. I value
I like the way you put that. Yeah.
So much that I want to get this right. And so I don't want to abuse myself. But y'all don't want to talk to me. But also I don't want to spoil myself either.
You don't want to spoil yourself.
Oh man. So I've got to be neutral with myself. That's why I say, going back to that experiment, pour all of you out on the table, the good, the bad, the nasty, the naughty, the ugly, all of you on the table without judgment. You know, the reason I encourage people to do that, it's not me saying don't ever judge yourself. I'm not one of those people who don't believe in judgment. I'm probably more judgmental now than I ever was as a believer. As a believer, I was horrible with judgment.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really good at making judgments now, which that's kind of the purpose of critical thinking, is to be good with your judgments. So I'm not saying you don't ever judge yourself. I'm saying if you judge yourself before you've allowed yourself to process what it is, you've already jumped the gun. And this is what happens with most of us when we're trying to work through whatever it is we're dealing with. As soon as you have the thought, as soon as you have the feeling, as soon as you have the idea, you attach a feeling to it. You attach an emotion to it. You attach a judgment value to it. So you have feeling about those titties and you be like, oh, that's bad. It's like, no, let that process think out. Go ahead and pour the titties on the glass and see where they lead to. No, I'm just playing. I have.
By the way, go check out Fridays. We have fun at the
there was a stress boob. There was a stress boob. If you know, everybody needs a good stress boob. That was funny. That was hilarious.
Yes.
But no, you want to give yourself time to process. Otherwise, a lot of these things that have impacted your life before, that have impacted the way you saw the world, will be making judgments before you've had time to critically engage it.
Yeah.
And as I've said before, like a lot of times the things you've attached to yourself aren't even thoughts that you really have about yourself. A lot of time that's what grandmama thought. That's what your dad thought. That's what Auntie Roxanne said. You know what I'm saying? That's what your best friend since third grade thought about you. I think sometimes like we don't understand how much information we process in any given moment and how long that information stays with us. And so like the truth of the matter is most of us are out here with 10 or 15 other people living in our head for free. You know what I'm saying? And it's time to kick your mama out your head. It's time to kick your granddaddy out your head. Like I need my voice to be paramount, to be front and center. I need to be able to hear what I think about me. I need to be able to hear what I feel about this. I need to be able to see me. So many people's inner dialogue is jacked up because it's not even their voice that they're wrestling with. Dang, this is good stuff. It's, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, and this is why I'm so big on intention. This stuff doesn't fix itself. You know, a lot of the stuff that I share here is stuff that I pulled after studying my community. This time I'm talking about Black community. Y'all know I'm Black nationalist, Pan-Africanist. That's where I come from. That's my journey into humanism. So I spent years studying what had mired my community, what had shaped my community, what things were ornamental when instead of functional. I was looking at all of that, and that's how I come to a lot of this stuff, wrestling with like, dang, so many people. And of course, that's what leads me over to humanism, is because I didn't realize like, oh snap, this ain't even just a Black problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is a people problem.
Right.
We live in a world where people don't even know themselves. We live in a world where people don't even know how to explore themselves because we've gotten so trapped into magical thinking that we literally think growth happens on accident. You know what I'm saying?
Just stumble across.
You know, and this is a good point. You got to ask yourself, am I growing or am I swelling? You know, am I growing or am I swelling? If I'm growing, it's good. If I'm swelling, this might be a tumor. You know what I'm saying?
And come on, you gotta cut it.
There's some things you gotta. Oh my goodness, is this good stuff? Is this good stuff?
Yes.
Like this is one of those things. Like I've critiqued about education. There are so many kids. Yes, Don. Yeah, man. Hey, bro, I'm telling you, we all. That's the work we got to do. When I critique education, I talk about this issue with kids sometimes, where the reason they think they're not smart is because they didn't know the answer. Okay?
Yeah.
Anybody ever been before where you're sitting in class and you're watching everybody else's hands go up? You're watching everybody else get the answers right. Hey, Miss Bradbury, that was 1492. Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And you looking like, how does help know that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so there are kids who will be in those classrooms and will begin to think about themselves that because I don't know the answer, because I don't know 2b plus c equals 3x, like, I'm not smart. And that is a gross misunderstanding of how smart intelligence or education works. Yeah. And it's even worse that we have educators who are not correcting it when they see it.
Right.
To say that no, even when you see those other people answering those questions, that knowledge didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Baby, a lot of them got privilege that you don't even know about. A lot of them got family members who work places where these are conversations that they have around the table. Y'all don't. Yeah. A lot of them have privilege that you don't know about. So they've been introduced to these concepts and these conversations before you. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that you're not smart. You just haven't been introduced to this information yet. Right. But what I found out is that when you introduce people to information, you give them enough information to wrestle with, you begin to figure out just how much we really know. Is this all right? I'm gonna chill because I done start sweating everything, man. This is why I love this community. Listen, if you're not one of our patrons, this is a great time to click that Patreon link, that YouTube membership link. this is a great time. I'm just saying, because we're growing on purpose. I'm gonna pull back.
Yes, and check out the merch. Don't forget to go to the website, window
merch.
shop with the y.dodd.us. You're gonna see a lot more merch added to that.
Yes, thank you, Don. That was beautiful. Don said, he said, I excelled because my peoples were educators. My peers thought, thank you for sharing that, brother. Yes.
And that happens a lot.
It does. It does.
And so the conversation we are having today is about more than just a worldview, but it's about identity and how the way we see ourselves affects the lives that we create. And that's so good, because if you see yourself a certain way, and believe it or not, there's a lot of women, even young women, even older women, if they see themselves a certain way, or if other people see themselves a certain way, then they start to act out their behavior. They like, okay, well, they said this, I'm gonna go full dive in. And they think they have to stay there and not evolve. And it comes out their mouth.
It does.
And so it really reflects on our mental health, our cognitive biases, and emotional states when we begin to unravel those layers of our self-perception and gain clarity on who we truly are.
Ooh, can I add to that?
Yeah.
And watch this: clarity and comfort. Like ever since perfection was removed from my worldview, I am 100% comfortable with me. Like when people say, "Oh, you mispronounced a word," I don't give a damn. I'm just that comfortable with me. I am so. Someone say, "I don't like your beard. Your beard is struggling." I don't care, because I have clarity on me, and I am so comfortable with me. I love being me. I love spending time with me. I like me, but a part of that is because watch what developing a healthy self-perception will do for you. A part of that is I realize, like, I can be happy.
Yes.
Like, I don't need something to make me happy. My career isn't gonna make me happy. If I need a career to make me happy, I've already admitted that I'm not happy.
Yeah.
If I need a person to make me happy, then I've already admitted that I'm not happy. And so getting clarity on yourself and getting comfortable with yourself it will put you in that place of like some happiness. Like it's like, okay, I'm happy. And not that cheap, shallow happy where you just smiling and bubbly all the damn time for no damn reason. But just the happiness was like, no, I'm okay. Like when I got rid of the concept of God, the world made so much more sense to me. Like I know, like many of you know, I lost my job like 3 weeks ago. My whole department almost gone, like wiped out. I was firing people left and right, and then I had to get the pink slip, and so it was like 10 years ago, I would have been broken down, crying, bent over. Why does this happen to me? Why does that? And not realize like how ludicrous of a question is that? Why does this happen? In a world where children get cancer, in a world where people get into life-changing accidents, in a world where people get attacked by wild animals, in a world where wild animals eat each other, in a world of floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, in a world of supernovas and exploding stars, you're asking why you lost your job?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, but people do this every day. People lose these. This happens.
Yeah,
this happens. I realized what religious superstition robbed me of was resilience, because I behaved as if everything was gonna break me the fuck down. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And that's a good lesson of life, because from what I've learned and what I always advise. Oh no, you're good. What I always advise is like, if you are here another day, then obviously you have to display some resilience in life. And so if you even have to start that small, just think about that. I have another day to breathe. I have another day to decide who I want to be, how I want to be, how I want to show up to the world. And you get to define that, especially if you're an adult.
Yes.
Define it.
Yes.
And we have another come on, left eye. Oh, see, I was about to Left-handed Jedi gave you a new name. You my left eye.
Left eye, left-handed Jedi. That's a new Star Wars crossover right there with left eyes in Star Wars. She's gonna burn down the Sith temple.
Yes, if y'all don't know, Left Eye was in TLC.
She was. Oh man, he said getting over the concept of hell was very hard for me. I am so much better now. That is beautiful. Thank you for those $5, man. We have been on a roll, y'all. Like, I love this. Listen, I gotta say it because someone did it. Like, if you haven't submitted a super chat, you can do $2, $3, $5. You can even do $100. Again, major shout out to Sharon Good and her family who gave us $100 during our fundraiser. Yes. Wow, this community is amazing. But you know, something you said, it made me think, and I just want to remind every person who's alive. That's why I said left eye gonna burn the Jedi temple down. One thought that's very sobering for me. That's very sobering for me. And this is a truism. Like, it's, if you are alive, you come from an unbreakable lineage of survivors. Every person who came before you lived long enough to get the next person here so that you can be here. Yeah. So you are a part of a long lineage of life that stretches all the way back to the very damn beginning of life itself. If you ever felt like you don't deserve to be here, you better ask somebody about you. You better look at yourself in the mirror and say, not only am I a survivor, I come from an unbreakable line of survivors. This is, I love this.
And that's what you get started when you get in that groove and you start feeling yourself starting to get down or negative. Just think, I'm unbreakable.
Yes.
Now I could possibly be breaking if I let myself be broken.
Yeah.
But you gotta mentally instill those blocks in you. You gotta build a foundation. So just like your house had to go through a process, it had to be molded before they even laid one brick. That foundation, that dirt had to be molded. It had to be flattened out. It had to be dug upon to get the holes through for what they need. So you got to think of that everyday life and apply it.
That's
to
it.
Everyday
life. And as ugly as things look right now, and yes, they are ugly, but please understand, we as a species are building on a strong foundation. We've had several hundred. Unbreakable was an incredibly awesome movie.
Mr. Glass.
I love the trilogy, man. Loved it. Didn't like the ending, but still loved it. You know, M. Night Shyamalan, what you say? But no, absolutely, that we are built as a species. This is why we always say keep rising. That keep rising, it's a moniker to humanity. That we've had some dark days, we've had some ugly days, but we can choose to keep rising. And not only can we should. We should. Yes. We should. When I let go of religion, the world became a beautiful place to me, filled with possibility, filled with potential. That ugliness didn't disappear. I just finally realized that I could be bigger than it. And that's my plan. Everybody else's plan may not be that, but my plan is to be bigger than the ugly. It is what it is. This is why I work the way that I work. This is why I grind the way that I grind. People are like, why does Darante go as hard as he goes? He does it because he's trying to be bigger than the ugly in the world. Because damn it, it's not superstition anymore. This shit is real now. There are real lives out here. This is no longer about saving souls and trying to get people into Never Land. This is now trying to make sure that people are fed. This is now trying to make sure that people have a good start in life. This is now trying to make sure that children don't have to suffer for the things that happened before them. This is now trying to make sure that everybody has adequate health care. This is now trying to make sure that we have a healthy species so that we can actually wrestle with this world that we live in. Because God damn it, we can't really afford to continue to just keep playing in the damn sand. We can't. I'm sorry. I know it's fun. We got to get out the sandbox. Let's take our toys. Let's pick up our crosses and our crescent moons and our umps and our astrologies. Let's pick up all of our toys and get out of the sandbox because we are surrounded by a world of both wonder and terror. Both.
Interesting.
And at this moment, we are our only hope. Oh man, there's another Star Wars reference. It's in there. You know, they just roll out. But it's there. Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
What about this reference? Life
finds a way.
Finds a way.
Yes. Jump, go, glory.
Yes. So let's continue with all that. Let's continue to look through the lens of the watcher, observing the many factors that influence us without judgment. And just as importantly, let's begin to recognize the power we have to reshape our perception, break through those biases, and cultivate a positive identity, right? Rooted in authenticity and resilience. And this is your invitation not to just observe, but to actively participate in shaping your own self-perception and the world around you. Okay.
Come on.
Together, let's rise by redefining who we are, not by what others think we should be, but by the clarity and authenticity we choose to embrace. I love when Yala said, she's clear about herself.
Yes.
Okay. You got to get clarity and you got to be clear.
Yes.
That's one of the things she highlights. And when you're clear about yourself, that's when you truly, honestly walk in so much new confidence. Because anything somebody says, you don't have to be offended all the time when people give you advice or feedback, because you can learn, even if you disagree, you can learn. It's always a new opportunity to learn something and observe and say, do I do that? Yes. Or I see that observation, but I disagree. But thank you for it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You might get deeper into it. So I love it.
Listen, man, if y'all enjoying this conversation, why don't y'all drop some fire in the chat? Drop some fire in the chat if you're enjoying this conversation, because I promise you it's about to get deeper, because now we have to talk about financial standing and social class in the context of self-perception, which is another one that I definitely wrestled with. Financial standing and social class have a profound impact on how we perceive our worth and abilities. In the context of this conversation about worldview and self-perception, our financial status and social class are key external factors that often shape the lens through which we see ourselves and our place in society. These elements influence our emotional state, cognitive biases, and even our mental health, all of which in turn affect how we view our identity and potential. So people who have stable financial resources are more likely to feel empowered and confident in their ability to navigate life's challenges. Financial security provides a sense of autonomy and control, which can lead to a positive self-perception of competence and self-sufficiency. Conversely, individuals who struggle financially, like me, or live in poverty, may internalize societal stereotypes about economic worth. And this is so major. Yeah. They may equate their financial hardship with a lack of ability, self-discipline, or worth, leading to feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. In many societies, there is a false but pervasive belief that financial success is directly tied to personal value. Which leads individuals to measure their self-worth by how much they own or earn, which is yikes, man. Yeah. But so there were several years of my life where there were things that I just did not aim for. There were things that I just didn't express interest in. And if you would have asked me, I would have had a good excuse as to why. My answer would not have been because I'm poor. My answer would not have been because I grew up broke. And that wouldn't have been because of me lying. What I'm trying to highlight is how insidious this is, because many of us will think that we have a clear view of ourselves because we have good excuses. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I've learned that so many people lie to themselves because the excuses are so comfortable, because the truth is hard. Truth is hard, but I had to wrestle with it when deconverting. Finances impact this. Is it definitely it definitely disrupts. Oh, no. It undergirds the imposter syndrome. Because then people who have this privilege, not saying everybody who's financially well off is this way, because no, that's not true. We're not going to do that to people, right? But some people who are financially well off, who's actually, I got a perfect example. One of my former mentors pastors a very large church, grew the church from about 20 people to over 20,000 today. Very large church in the Birmingham, Alabama area. Of course, everybody, all the young and upcoming preachers wanted to be on his platform and stuff. And the thing is, they'd come to his church and they'd preach, and it'd be great. And they'd be like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Okay, I'll tell you." And they'd be like, "Oh, I'm so good because I preached up here and they loved it. And oh my goodness." And so then they'd be like, "Oh, well, now I don't need you anymore because I realized I got the juice now." You know what I'm saying? I got the juice. And so they'll go out and they'll try to start their own church, and their churches wouldn't work. And I remember one of it was Hollis that asked PMJ. He said, "Now, why do you think their church didn't work? They did so good here. When they were here, every time they preached, the people went crazy. Why do you think their church didn't work?" And he said, "Because they thought that what they were experiencing was because of them.
Yeah.
They didn't realize it was my stage that I've spent 8 years building. It was my band that I've spent 8 years training. And it was my members who I've spent 8 years creating, cultivating this culture. Everything they experienced up there, or at least 70% of what they experienced up there, didn't have the word then. But what he explained was imposter syndrome. You're thinking you're making this happen, not realizing that it's your privilege that is giving you this experience. All right. But then the person that works on the other side of the coin, which is where I lived for the majority of my life, is then everything in my life that is not financially right is personal.
It's personal.
It's me. It's my value. Like I don't have money because I suck as a person. Never mind the fact that your mother had you in debt before you were even an adult. You know what I'm saying? Never mind the fact that you had two parents that never did anything for you financially. Never mind the fact that you come from generational lines of poverty. No, overlook all of that. You don't have money. You're not financially secure because you're a bad person. You're not valuable. You know, it's all of these things. And that's where it starts. But where it goes is you eventually internalize those feelings and you add something else to it because nobody's going to feel comfortable saying that to themselves. You're not going to feel comfortable just saying you don't have money because you suck. So you're going to create an excuse to attach to that. And that's what's going to be your thing. I don't have money because, you know, I'm just not that type of person. I don't have this because I'm not this, or I don't want this. And at the end of the day, what it really is, you've already counted yourself out from having, I'm not one of those people. Those things don't happen.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Then you fully commit to that thinking and that way of life. So you never seek out to improve if needed, you know. That's it.
And that's it. And that's, you know, I often remind people that, you know, because every time I talk to people, they always say, especially because y'all know me by now, if you've been around me a long time or any amount of time, you know, I don't do the blame thing. I'm a responsible. I preach the gospel of responsibility. And the reason I don't do blame is just because it has no utility. Right? So instead of blaming you, I'd rather have the power to change you. You see what I'm saying? You know, and I got a lot of work, to do to get there. But so when I talk to people about like, we've got to, you know, get organized and we've got to become a solution, everybody's mind goes to, but we don't have any money. But we don't have any money. But we don't have any money. It's amazing to me how humanists seem to value money more than humans. You actually think money is what gets things done? Do you not realize the only utility of money is paying people?
Yeah.
You missed it. Like the whole point of having money is to be able to pay people to do stuff for you. You know, so you got money to pay somebody to fix that car. You got money to pay somebody to fix that air conditioner. You got money to pay somebody to fix you a plate. You got money. You see what I'm saying? It's so the money is not the power.
What's the
The people.
Denominator, yes.
The people are the power.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you get the people together, it's so crazy. Anybody who thinks the money is gonna come before the people do don't understand how this thing works.
Yeah.
Like, but so much of what we do is, that's right, for time. Yes, so much of what we do is, and we're not willing to group together as people and do the work.
Yeah.
If we just simply started coming together as people, we discover where the money comes from. People, God damn it.
And I love it because this it isn't a notion that's just off the head and spectacular.
Yes.
History has shown. If you look at Booker T. Washington, they did not actually have a lot of money. Like, no. He had to do speeches and do these things to try to get people to help. But overall, what he did was gather the students.
Yep.
And say, okay, in order for us to have this, we have to build this. And they started to gather the resources they have and build it together.
That's it.
And that's where you start.
That's where you start.
You have to be willing to build it together with the resources you have, right?
Yep.
So
next time you see somebody share a post, next time you hear somebody complain, next time you hear somebody tell you what such and such doing, just say this: I hear what you're saying. Now, what are you doing? That's what we got to get. Because right now, there's a lot of sayers out here. Where are the doers? Do I got to go back to my days as a pastor? Be doers of the work, not hearers only. You know, like,
I love that right here.
If you build it, they will come. That's right. Oh my goodness.
Kurt, you got it.
Do the work. Do it right. Come on now.
You got it.
I love it.
And so when we look at social class, that is another grand determinant in shaping the identity and feelings of work as well. And people born into higher social classes or other or those that have success. So I deserve this because I'm already born into it, right? And with this belief, it can foster a strong sense of self-worth, where they see their financial success as a reflection of their abilities and talents and hard work. But if you pay attention to life, everybody who, some people, depending on where you're from, at least in some of my circles, growing up in the public education, we did have people who thought, if someone has money, if they're wealthy, that must mean they're smarter.
Oh,
they're
doing
something right. And that is a dangerous assumption, because history has also shown you, just because someone is wealthy or has more money than you doesn't always necessarily mean they're smarter.
Nope.
Because some people pay an accountant. They can't do math. That's why they paid an accountant. Okay. Yep. You know, some people, they can't interpret or they can't negotiate, so they hire those things. They don't know the law, so they hire lawyers. So don't always assume things that you haven't verified yet.
Yep. No, it's like I don't know anybody enough to know if they're smarter than me. You're just another person. Right. I'm not even interested in finding out if you're smarter than me or not. I don't want to hurt my feelings like that.
Hey, Nancy.
And so, like, and then on the other hand, those born into lower social classes may feel excluded or marginalized by society. Social mobility is often difficult, and systemic barriers make it harder for individuals from lower classes to change their circumstances. The feelings of helplessness, low confidence, and a diminished sense of self-worth. A book that I have now that's I haven't published it yet, but it's pretty much done. It's called Making the Jump. And it's a book about like some very real things from my own life, well, really from our lives, about how we've had to make some different decisions over the years to pull ourselves from where we were to where we are now. And a lot of that came from, moving beyond different superstitious ideologies, and also learning how to, watch this, a part of fixing your self-perception. And this is why I don't like a lot of what exists on social media. So sometimes people, have you seen such and such? I don't do that. Like I'm really not out here watching everybody.
First of all, you ain't got the time.
I really don't. I really don't. And honestly, like I don't like fluff, right? But so one thing that I do hear coming out a lot more is, telling, basically helping people come to terms with themselves, see you're valuable, you have this self-worth, love yourself, and that's where it ends at. And so at that moment, it's just feel good. It's just mental masturbation. It's just getting you off. It's just making you feel, it's feeding that dopamine at that moment. It has absolutely no freaking utility, which is why, as good as I am at motivating people, I made a decision about half a decade ago that I would always combine motivation with information, because information is motivation, But what happens is we end up setting the biggest point about fixing your self-perception is not just so that you can feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
It is also that you can do better with yourself. This is good, all right? And when I say do better, y'all know I always make this caveat just so nobody gets triggered. But when I say do better, we're not talking about those other voices in your head. We're talking about your voice. Do better and what it means to you, right? But that's the whole point. The whole point of being able to see myself better is for me to be able to do more with my life. It's for me to be able to do more with my time. What's the use of looking in the mirror and saying, boy, you look good, and the town, you see what I'm saying? So it's not just about feeling better with myself. It's about living better. It's about doing better. It's about growing better. That's what my self-worth is. When I can see myself accurately, when I can see myself healthily, then I feel comfortable being me. I feel comfortable engaging life. That's where the power comes in.
I love that.
And so, man, isn't it good?
Yeah.
And so these systemic barriers can make it difficult for individuals from lower classes. And I've been there, and I've had to navigate through much of this in my life. And in many times, and I think y'all have kind of heard that this is my ideology, I pretty much stand on the fence, or not on the fence, but I pretty much stand on the side that I don't care what other people give me or don't give me, whether they help or not. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to, as 50 Cent said, I'm going to make it happen at that try. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But
this the execution.
But to me, that's what life is. Give me freedom or give me death. I don't want anything less than that. Y'all better talk to me. All right. And so I wanted to add this little caveat here, is that, since, I don't know if you noticed, it's hard for me. I don't need to deserve anything to want it. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to. I don't need it. Like, I don't need to deserve anything to want it. If I want something, I just want it, But a lot of people have that, do I deserve to see myself? Like, and that's so rough. It's like, it just is what it is, man. All right. So financial resources also often dictate the opportunities available to individuals. Those with wealth or financial stability are more likely to have access to quality education, healthcare, and professional networks, which can bolster their self-perception of their competence and their ability. The more opportunities available, the more individuals can see themselves as capable of achieving their goals and reaching their potential. In contrast, those without financial means may feel restricted in their ability to pursue their goals. Limited access to education, healthcare, and other resources can create a sense of helplessness and leading individuals to question their potential. Now, this is where I lived to 2017. Up until 2017, I absolutely felt that I was helpless unless you know what I'm saying? It wasn't until 2017 that I actually wrestled with that and kind of confronted that and realized that, no, a lot of this is still that magical thinking. And a lot of this is still you not being able to wrestle with who you are, right? So without the tools to succeed, it becomes easy to internalize the belief that their circumstances are a reflection of their own inadequacy. Like some people suck at gardening, right? I'm one of those people. I suck at gardening. I'm not good at it. Not great at it.
You haven't practiced.
But what I begin to realize, though, is that every time I've tried, I've not used the right tools. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Every time I've tried, I've just been winging it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you begin to realize how important tools are. Okay. So I think when I had this, like, I don't want to call it revelation, but when I had this thought, there was a story, a fable, folklore that used to get told a lot. Some of you may remember it. It was the story of John Henry, I think. And it was man versus machine. And John Henry, he had like a sledgehammer. And he worked on a train. You know what I'm saying? Train thing. And then they invented this machine that could do it. And he spent his life proving that he could outdo the machine. You know what I'm saying? And he goes and he does it, and then he ends it, and the story ends, and then John Henry laid his hammer down and he died because he literally expended himself trying to prove that he could do better than the thing that was made for him to be better.
To be better.
You know what I mean? And then I realized that for so many communities, we've gotten stuck there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because we didn't have access to tools for so long, we've adjusted to not having the tools. And in many times have started to demonize tools.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then if you see somebody out there using tools to go, what you using them things for? You got to put your hands in the dirt. You don't know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like, oh man, these are all little ways that we kind of
that's a good point.
Trap ourselves, you know. Mm-hmm. But I've done it over and over again. I'm like, oh no, I've really got to learn. I've got to be comfortable using the tools, you know. As a matter of fact, here's another sobering thought. I can't even properly engage the world around me without tools. Mm-hmm. You know, now I can get very individual. Like for me as a person, without these tools that are my glasses, I'm not as useful as I'm not going to be able to read as much. I need these tools, but like that's individual. Let me get global. Without microscopes, without stethoscopes, without telescopes, these tools, we can't even clearly see the world we live in. So we definitely got to get comfortable with our tools. All right. So again, these lack of access to resources can definitely lead to that feeling of helplessness and lead to people feeling like, oh, I may not have potential. Without the tools to succeed, it becomes easy to internalize. And see, and the thing is, as a global community, when we hear these things, what do we do with that information? If we know that people who are struggling, just like myself, coming from an impoverished background, are likely viewing themselves as incapable, which means, and we need to think of it this way, if they're viewing themselves as incapable, then they are likely also viewing themselves as, why should I even try? Why should I even help? Which means we're robbing humanity of another person at the table of progress. And so that's something that as a global community that not only should we be concerned about, but invested in. This is why we do the work that we do.
Yeah. And so looking at social class, it not only affects material access, but it also shapes one's mindset regarding what is possible for them. And that can constantly change throughout your lifetime, right? Yes. And so people from higher social classes may have a broader sense of entitlement and expectation of success. They may view setbacks as temporary challenges, believing that they have the resources to overcome any obstacle. This mindset reinforces their belief in their own potential. And then sometimes you get the opposite. They feel like they lost everything. They just might say, hey, I'm out of here. Yep. And that goes to show you where the value that they don't see themselves without that resource that they once had. And so when you look at the opposite end, those from the lower social classes may grow up with a sense of limited potential shaped by their experiences of exclusion, lack of access, and negative stereotypes. Yeah. They internalize the belief that they are not good enough or worthy enough to rise above their social class. And that can stifle ambition, growth, and impact in how they view their own. And then you get those outliers. And when I was younger, I was the outlier where you believe, I can do anything I put my mind to. I'm not going to let anything hold me back. But then as you can see, as I evolved and started living life, then that started to diminish because again, I started feeling that those punches, you know, or what felt like.
I think that the slippery slope in that is that what we do is it's the words we use, right? We say, I can do anything that I want to. What that becomes the safety net. So then if I'm challenged to do anything that I don't actually think I can do, what will I say? I don't want to do that. That's why that's just not something I want to do. And so that becomes that's how we keep ourselves trapped into thinking we're aiming when we're not.
And that's the point, because remember in I don't know if it was one of your videos in last year, but at one point you had talked about us. Remember we had talked about we being able to control our minds or make changes in our minds. And so what you're feeding yourself there is like, oh, if you just switch the wording, then you can maybe activate something to get you going.
It's like it's giving yourself so many people have lived off of anecdotes instead of information, right? And so when you go to reach for encouragement or motivation, all you have is somebody else's story. That's actually not helpful. Knowing what somebody else did in a situation that has absolutely nothing to do with your situation is actually not helpful at all. It may be encouraging, which is emotional. That's all that is. That doesn't mean that this information helped you. It made you smile. It made you get a tear. Doesn't mean this information is helpful. I have a really hard time helping humans understand what is helpful and not helpful. There are things that are nice. Just because it's nice doesn't mean it's helping. I'm going to say that again. There are things that are nice. Just because it's nice doesn't mean it's helping, right? So if your house is burning down and you have a dog that's in that house and you want to go get your dog out of the house before the house burns down and your friend comes by and says, man, that was a really nice house. That statement is nice, but it is not helpful. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when you can change, like this is just that stuff about neuroplasticity. You can change how your brain is sort of wired, but it starts feeding your information you can use, right? And which is the thing about intent is, what do I want to do with my life right now? What do I want to be focusing on right now? Why am I not focusing on that? Why am I watching more stuff? Why am I listening to more stuff that is not going to help me move forward when I have control over what I watch and what I listen to?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and like this is the stuff that I really get with people is that like, if you want a different life, shouldn't you be doing everything within your power to get it before you expect anybody else to help? Because I used to be the person to jump in the ring for other folk only to look back and see this motherfucker ain't in the ring with me.
Yeah.
So I'm fighting your battle for you. So I came up with a little saying, I can fight with you, but I cannot fight for you.
And
I
can't
be,
good.
You know,
but that's what you were expected to do as a pastor.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, jumping in and fight your battle. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah. Man, this is good. This is good. All right. So let's get back into these, hit some of these biases. So there's confirmation bias, right? Individuals who perceive themselves as financially successful may focus on instances that reinforce their belief in their own ability, while ignoring challenges or failures. Early individuals struggling financially may focus on their set, reinforcing they are incapable of success while discounting moments of achievements. And so right before I deconverted in 2014, I can remember this tear-filled moment where I had reached out to one of my other friends in the faith, who was also a fellow minister, very close friend of mine, one of the few people who didn't think I was crazy when I became an atheist. I reached out to him and I was crying and I just told him, like, man, I feel like a failure. You know, everything is just going wrong. And he was like, what? Why do you feel like what? And I'm like, I feel like a failure, man. Like my whole life is falling apart. And he was like, didn't you just graduate from college last week? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I did. And he was like, didn't you start your church from the ground up? And I was like, yeah, I did. He was like, didn't you get married and have 2 beautiful kids? And I'm like, yeah, I did. And he was like, you know, so
Perspective.
he lists all of these things, and it's like, I'm not understanding why you think your life is so bad. And it was a perspective issue for me.
Yeah.
Oh man. No, look, my life wasn't great. It was still bad. So I didn't come out of that move. I didn't come out of that moment thinking, ooh, my life is better. I came out of that moment thinking, oh, they don't see it because this is the standard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
None of those questions would have been the questions a therapist would have asked me.
Mm.
Because my college degree has nothing to do with my mental health.
Mm.
Y'all talk to me out. How many kids I have has nothing to do with my mental health.
How many kids
you know what I'm saying? You know, like no, and Jay right before that too, where I realized I don't like these standards. These standards are not deep enough for me. There's no depth here. And that's part of the reason I'm struggling, because nobody else sees the problem. I'm the only person that sees the problem, yet I keep showing up and smiling.
Yeah.
Like it's not a problem.
Yeah.
You know, like I see the emperor ain't got no clothes, but I'm pretending like I don't see the ding dong slanging in front of my face. You know what I'm saying? And like, no, I'm not gonna do that anymore. So that moment led me to realize that I had been viewing myself through a faulty lens. I was not wrestling with how the variables of my circumstances had impacted how differently I needed to navigate and how capable I was to do so. I felt like I was a failure because I didn't have the support, not because I didn't have the achievements. I'm gonna say that one more time because I feel like that went over somebody's head. I'm gonna say it one more time. I felt like I was a failure because I didn't have the support, not because I didn't have the achievement.
Wow, and that's so. Ooh, I've been there. Yeah.
Yes,
I definitely felt that. That's a good way to put that.
Yes, I had all the achievements. I just didn't have the support, and I had started measuring my life by who loved me. I started measuring my life by who showed up. And if you inspect the family I was born into, you realize how foolish of a pursuit that was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But what I heard is like, man, if we internalize that, man, I judge me by how much I love myself.
Yes.
I judge me by how much I show up for myself. And that, remember you used to have a saying like false expectations
breed disappointment.
Yeah,
disappointment is the child of false expectations. Yes.
Right. And so when you get that in check, it helps to diminish how much you're disappointed.
Yeah. Well, like, because that's one thing I don't have much of anymore. Like I used to be disappointed all the time.
Yeah.
But I realized much of my disappointment was based in magical thinking, either believing that the way I felt about something should control other people, or the way that I felt about something should control outcomes, instead of realizing the actual cause and effect relationship. So it's like, no, if you want that outcome to change, there's some stuff you're going to have to do to contribute to that change other than just praying for it.
Yeah.
Other than just like, I was so out of it. Like, if I needed a financial breakthrough, if my rent needed to be paid and I was already 30 days past due, do you know what I was going to go do? I was going to go to the church and spend 3 days fasting and praying.
Fasting,
like,
yeah.
That's a disconnection from cause and effect. You know? All right. So now we'll hit an attribution bias as well. Y'all, I don't know what's going on with the string today. We have top internet, but this has been happening lately, so I'll test it and see. But those from higher social classes may attribute their success to their hard work. You know what? That's another great time to say, listen, if you're not a giver, if you're not a donor yet, if you're not a patron or a YouTube member, you're to blame for this internet problem right now. It's your fault. No, I'm just playing. I am just playing. You're not to blame. We live in the country. But no, like if you want us to help, if you want to help us improve the quality of this stuff, this would be a great time to either drop a super chat or join Patreon so we can make sure y'all can see and hear clearly. I'm too good looking to be skipping. I don't need to be catching. I'm just too good looking for that.
Oh, they can piece you together. Come on.
Piece me together.
Solve the puzzle.
So while people from lower classes may attribute their struggles to personal failure, ignoring external factors like systemic inequality that contribute to their situation.
Yeah, and so when we're looking at the mental state and emotional state, there is an impact that financial stress can have on mental health,
Yes.
which we experience a lot in our lives, right? So financial stability is often a source of stress and anxiety, which can have a direct impact on self-perception.
Yes.
So chronic financial stress can lead to mental health issues like depression and anxiety, and further affecting how individuals see themselves.
Yep.
And constantly worrying about money is the like having to worry about, we got 50, 100 bills and not it's like we get on survival mode. It can roll worth creating a cycle of negative self-talk and self-doubt, and we kind of have to push ourselves out of that in order to move forward. What can I do? What is in my control to do, right?
Yes.
And when you look at our well-being for social class status or our emotional well-being, that influences how people feel about their place in society overall. Those from, again, higher classes may feel a greater sense of emotional security. Sometimes they don't, and sometimes they do, while others from lower classes may experience a heightened stress, shame, and frustration because it feels like I'm constantly think about getting punched in the face, like, oh, I'm constantly getting punched. Stop punching me, you know? And so these emotional states can cloud judgment and negatively affect one's self-image, making it harder to build resilience and optimism overall, right? So in our conversation about worldview and self-perception, financial standing and social class may play a crucial role in shaping how we view ourselves and our potential overall. And so both factors influence our self-worth, our abilities, our emotional state, and they can either empower or limit how the work. So recognizing the impact of these external factors is the first step in dismantling those biases and assumptions that shape our identity.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And so as we continue to observe and understand how our circumstances influence our self-perception, we must also recognize the power of choice. Despite these external factors, we have the ability to redefine our sense of worth and potential in most cases. And just as Uatu, which is the watcher from What If, he observes from a place of detached awareness, we can step back and view our circumstances with clarity and comfort, refusing to let our financial or social class define who we are and what we can achieve. And again, I want to stress that we can refuse, okay, to let our financial or social class define who we are or what we can achieve. And right now, I am not talking about that childish trigger where you're responding to other people, right? Now I could do anything, and I ain't talking about that shit. That shit is useless. I'm talking about you understanding that that my financial status is not a scarlet letter in my life.
Yeah.
I am a human being. I change from day to day.
Yes.
I have the capacity to do the unimaginable because we've seen it done over and over and over and over again. I do encourage people, if you things that to remind you just how capable human beings are. You know what I'm saying?
You made me think about that's why our grandparents didn't get to do because they were watching soap operas.
I mean, like, yeah. Oh no, like literally, and I know some of y'all are gonna disagree, but if 98% of what you consume is bullshit, what is the likelihood that you're going to have that you're going to even have the the initiative to do anything about your life?
Yeah.
And like, yes, there are a lot of different factors, but man, you'd be surprised how many people are not doing better only because they sincerely believe that they can't.
That they can't, yeah.
And
they
much
really
of it
think
is really connected to what they feed themselves.
Yeah.
Which is like when I do counsel people, that's pretty much why I spend my time. What is your nutrition like? Because I am not about to sit here and go back and forth with 20 years of bad information that you refuse to correct. You know what I'm saying? So when I listen to you, if everything you watch is drama, then there is no mystery why all of your relationships are filled with drama. If not very much mystery as to why you're so suspicious of other folks. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, when you don't like, you know, and it's a you thing, right? Yeah, it's a you thing. If what you're producing isn't generating the life you want, change your diet.
Change your diet.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's like, you know, as much as you've learned about bullshit, why not? I mean, it's your life. It's your life. Why not invest some of that time in your life to learn about things that would improve your life? You know, like that's a choice we have. But you'd be surprised of how many people who don't realize that they have that choice.
Yeah.
Like, did you know when you get, I know it, right? Did you know when you get into, dang it, I forgot where I was going because that threw me. But that was so good. But it's your life. You know, you can give yourself information. You can change that nutrition. And so you can kind of observe from that place. Dang, this got good. It's through this understanding and this kind of self-reflection that we can empower ourselves to transcend the limitation imposed by society, rebuild our sense of worth, and move forward with a renewed sense of purpose and possibility. Next time you have a situation where you have an emotional outburst, a specific emotional outburst, I want you to try to trace it. I want you to try to trace that justification. Why did I feel that this moment, and I'm not saying the moment is bad, but you asked the question, why do I feel like this was appropriate? Why do I feel like this was justifiable? How long have I been having this type of outburst? And then see if you can trace it to any of your input. See if there's anywhere else that you've seen outbursts like this normalized. It's a very, very interesting, experiment. All right, so this next one is media representation, which I guess we're kind of on, and its impact on self-image. So social media platforms have become one of the primary vehicles for shaping how people see themselves and others in the modern world. Whether through images, videos, or narratives, media representation can deeply influence self-perception, for better or for worse. The way individuals and groups are portrayed in the media, particularly on social platforms, can either bolster or erode self-image, depending on how accurately, fairly, and inclusively they are represented. Which just to hit this, representing people accurately, representing a people group accurately in media is an impossibility because people groups are not monoliths. You know what I'm saying?
So many variables.
There's so many variables.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about how media representation builds self-image.
Yeah, and so you have some positive role models and empowerment that you can pull from it, and that's one of those are like inspiration and validation, right? So when you look at positive media representations, whether it's through mainstream celebrities, influencers, or just ordinary people sharing their stories, because you have those, right? It can serve as powerful role models, right? So for individuals who identify with those being represented, seeing someone who looks like them or shares their experiences and viewpoints and perspectives can be immensely empowering. And it also validates their identity, and it can help them feel seen and valued in different ways that they may have not been before. So representation can also serve as a source of inspiration, showing that success, beauty, intelligence, and happiness are possible for people who share their traits and struggles.
Yes.
And another positive role model or ways that social media can represent that is through affirmation of identity, right?
Yes.
Social media platforms like Instagram or TikTok have given individuals and groups a platform to share personal experiences and affirm their identities. You do have people on there who are really legitimately on there to say, I want to share this with you, and maybe that can give you some insight in some way. And this has created communities where marginalized groups such as people of color, LGBTQ plus individuals, and others can find solidarity and self-affirmation. And so this visibility of these communities helps challenge stereotypes and provides alternative narratives and reinforcing positive identity. So you see that nothing is really just so simple, or it's like, oh, everything is bad or everything is negative.
Yeah.
Life is more complex. So things that we view, things that we see is more complex to that, right?
Yep. I love it. And so, and it kind of gives us that dual side of media, if you will, not to sound too linear, but like, yes, while media can be just junk, there could also be stuff in media that affirms your identity, you know, and those are the things that I often try to remind us to use it for. Like, if we're going to be out here working, let's use media to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish, not the things that we don't want to accomplish.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now let's kind of talk about community and belonging, and shared experiences and support networks. And speaking of shared experiences, have you shared this experience? You see how I did that? Have you shared this experience? Take this opportunity to send this to somebody, because these are the type of conversations that matter. Yes. Oh man, yes. So social media allows people to connect with others who share similar identities, which is kind of like what we do here every weekend, what we're doing in Discord. Experiences our interests and fostering a sense of belonging. Communities on platforms like Discord, Facebook groups, and YouTube provide emotional support, offer advice, and promote collective empowerment. When people are surrounded by supportive networks and see others who share their experiences thriving, it can help reinforce a healthy sense of self-worth. You know, now that I've expanded, you know, my view, because when I was a child, I grew up in Dothan, Alabama, which was, you know, some country, some city, mostly country, and people, you know, definitely behaved as if we were still back in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember explaining when I moved to DC for the first time in 6th grade. When I moved back, I remember explaining to people that one of the differences I had noticed is that in Alabama, or at least not Alabama, in Dothan, in the area that I was, there was just like always one type of black, which is why I always felt out. I never fit in, because there was always one way to be black. And if you weren't that one way, something was wrong with you.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to DC, which is a very diverse place, not just black folk, but you got everybody, but not just African Americans, you also have Africans. So I'm meeting Kenyans and Nigerians. But then for the first time, I'm also seeing different types of black.
Yeah.
I'm seeing hip hop black. I'm seeing country
what
black.
They call you nerdy black.
I'm seeing nerdy black. You know, like I literally, you know, met somebody who looked like, and I remember saying it. I was, you know, probably one nice thing to say. I'm like, you're the first nerd I've ever met. Like, because he had the glasses, he had the tape, and he had like the Poindexter type of voice and approach to people. And I was like, you're the first nerd. Like, I was super excited. You know, I wasn't mad. I was excited. But it was the first time I had seen professional black, like, and it was an eye opener for me. And then eventually I began to expand. Oh man, yeah, I love it. Yes.
Miss it so much.
And then that helped expand my worldview of how I could see myself. Because like, oh, finally, I could kind of feel like I'm not, it's nothing wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? There are other black people who are like me. There are other black people who are just as different as me. So I can still be black and still be me.
Yeah.
And then as I grew, like I think I remember when maybe this was about 10 years ago when I was working for CBA, and I realized, you know, some of the things they were doing, and I was just like, that's just people. These people just built this house. And that's when I started saying people can do what people can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But that's how important representation is. Like, that's how important media is, even beyond just the idea of seeing someone that looks like me, because I'm beyond that now. It's still a necessity, but I'm beyond that. It's also just seeing people do shit, period. Seeing people do stuff. Like, I'd be like, oh, snap, I can do that. That's something I can do too.
Nice.
Every time people achieve something new, that it unlocks a new side quest within me. Yeah. And then, oh yeah, this is something you can do too. You know what I'm like this. So
you remember that? Where did we get that song? Anything you can do,
I can do better. No, you can't. Yes, I can. Anything you can do, I can do better. It was an old musical. Was that wasn't Annie, was it? I don't think that was Annie. It could have been Annie. I don't know.
Parable. Okay, you're in Texas now. Nice.
Texas.
I want to ask you just by chance, and this is off topic. Did you get Parable of the Sower? Do you know an author named Octavia Butler? She had a book with that same title. I wonder if you got the name for that. But yeah.
All right. So media representation that showcases the diverse range of human experiences, body types, ethnicities, sexualities, and abilities can enhance the self-image of individuals who may have felt excluded or marginalized in the past. Man, yes, Octavia Butler, yes. I would have loved this. This could have been a part of our conversation Friday night, because we opened up talking about, there it is. There it is. Oh, that is awesome. I thought you missed it. I thought you was off. I was like, oh, dang. They're gonna be like, nah, I got this from the scripture. Oh, that is awesome. But it's this beautiful place of realizing, like, because a major part of the work we do, most of you're here Sunday, so you know about BridgeCity Global. But the Monday through Friday stuff is DLDD World Group. The songs you hear on the intro, that's DLDD World Group. Because not only are we concerned about building community, we're also concerned about building opportunities. And we're really focused on areas of education, economics, and entertainment. And that was a major talking point on Friday while we were in our 10K celebration fundraiser, which is, reminder, fundraising season. But we talked about how important media is to this movement. And I hope just through some of the conversations we've been having today that some of you can kind of see how important it is as well. But it helps challenge narrow standards of beauty, of success, of normalcy, of intelligence, which allows people to embrace and celebrate their uniqueness without shame. I think, my saving grace as a kid may have been that I was a latchkey kid. That might have been my saving grace. Because I was a latchkey kid who had control over the remote, I can control what I watched and what I didn't watch. And I had such an intense curiosity that I watched some amazing stuff, Yeah.
I remember where you say you used to pick up like dinosaur books.
I used to, man, I like to learn. Like that's why I hate all those years I wasted in, doing that thing. All right. So let's talk about some unrealistic standards in comparison, which also this is how media representation erodes self-image. One of the most insidious ways this happens is through the unrealistic portrayal of perfect lives, perfect bodies, and these accomplishments. Social media influencers and celebrities often present an idealized version of their lives, which is carefully curated to highlight only the best moments, which they call social proof. I am 100% against this. This is why you don't see a lot of pictures of me. This is why you don't see a lot of pictures of my family. You don't see me out on my truck like, this is how Ron is living. Like you don't see any of that, because I find that to be highly shallow. I would use the word manipulative, but I actually don't have a problem with the word manipulate. But I just find it to be shallow. It doesn't do anything. Me seeing your house does nothing to tell me that the information you have is valid. And the fact that we have so many content creators leaning into that, I'm telling you, that is a slippery fucking slope. Like we're literally leading people to be consumers without being critical thinkers. Like, if that's what it takes for you to trust that I have something valuable to say, I don't want to talk to you. You're not the person I want to share it with. If you have to see what my house looks like, if you have to see what my car looks like, if you have to see how much money is in my bank, for you to sit down and hear something that I'm saying and be able to determine if it's valid or not, we're not even having the same conversation. Yeah. And typically, the people who kind of get involved in that type of stuff are trying to scam you. And so I don't like stuff like that.
Yes,
man. Yeah, we're doing stuff for the post up. So icky and not the point. Yes. So like I did, this leads to constant comparisons where individuals may feel that they fall short of these unrealistic standards. Like one thing I do, I realize I can't live my life by anybody else's standards. You didn't have my parents. You didn't have my grandparents. Did your grandfather kill your grandmother? I don't know. Like, because we got different variables. Like something may have happened different in your life. This is why, like, I don't get excited when somebody say, "Oh, I did this and now I am this." I don't give a damn. I'm not you. You didn't give me enough. Because of the way my mind works, I know when I don't have enough variables to get excited.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's not enough variables. So the culture of highlight reels on platforms like Instagram fosters the belief that everyone is leading a more glamorous, successful, or happy life, which can hold self-esteem and lead to feelings of inadequacy, loneliness, and even depression. We don't live a very high-scale life. Like for now, we are upper middle class. Don't know how much longer that's going to last. You know, if I don't get some income in here within the next few weeks. But as of now, we're upper middle class. It has not always been that way.
Yeah,
we have to work very, very hard to get here. But I can remember a time, probably right before we made the transition here, or a little bit before we made the transition here, where there were several other people in our lives who just looked like they were living their best life. Mm-hmm. Always going out to eat,
new furniture,
always getting new furniture, got big old TVs, new games, and got new purses and new shoes. And we looking like, damn, like even to this day, I don't think either of us have had new shoes in years. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at it, and they got all of this stuff. And I remember thinking about it one day, like, but they broker than we are. Wait a minute. Like, honestly, this is me thinking, not a bad way. I'm like, they make way less money.
How are they doing this?
How are they doing all this? And then that's when I realized, like, this just one of those reminders, like, you can't even make these comparisons. Because the thing is, it's not just how much you make, it's how you prioritize what you make. Yeah. It's what you do. Like, they're going out to eat and doing all this other stuff because that's what's important to them. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying that's what's important to them. But so you will look at that from the outside looking in and be like, you know what? I need to start living more. Let me start. So now you're about to change what you prioritize because of looking at somebody else's life because they hadn't paid their rent in 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like never allow yourself to feel like you know something that you don't.
You don't know. Yeah.
But people do it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All right, I'm through.
And another thing to highlight is unattainable beauty standards that is represented in media as well. And like you have Instagram and TikTok, it often emphasizes a narrow definition of beauty, which I see a lot of even makeup. And I'm not one to wear a lot of makeup. To be honest with you, I pretty much on my everyday, I don't wear any makeup but lip gloss. But you see a lot of people like, oh, if you want to look prettier, enhance your face. And it's like, and then sometimes you see in the chat people telling them, hey, you looked even prettier without the makeup. You didn't need the makeup. And then some people just do it because they like it. But then you see those women who showcase themselves that some people really believe they look better with the makeup. It's like, some people literally say, oh, I feel like blah, or I'm naked without my makeup and my eyelashes on. Yeah. And for people like me, I'm like, you gonna take me as I am, okay? Yeah. You gotta like this first before I put on all this stuff. But
I'm gonna tell you now, when Tyler Perry get better at making wigs, because right now he got a long way to go. But when Tyler Perry get better at making wigs, your boy is getting some hair back. I'm telling you. Now, let me stop.
Yeah, it's like, and it's not wrong or anything wrong with that until you have to see yourself and love yourself as you are, just like taking off the lenses, cleansing yourself and looking at who you are. And then you can say, oh, okay, I want to be artistic and I want to wear my hair like this today or do this like that. And so knowing those nuances is important. But you see a lot of perfectly symmetrical faces and toned bodies and flawless skin. And it's like, whoa, how'd you get that? And then sometimes I see other people in the chat like, hey, you know, this is a mock-up, right? You know, this has a filter on it and stuff. And so your perception of how you see things can also affect how you view yourself as well.
Absolutely. And beauty is such a facade to me. Like it's such a facade when humans look at something, specifically when it's a person, and they say, oh, this person is beautiful. And it's like, from what I've observed, most time that person doesn't even know what they mean when they use that word. What they're actually communicating is, this is a person who the rest of the world would say is beautiful. And so therefore I must say they're beautiful too. But have not wrestled with what beauty is to them, because beauty is so subjective, you know? And that's really where that if I can't subjectively look at myself and see beauty with or without anything, then there's probably some work I need to do. Because I've likely defined how I feel about the way I look by societal standards. And like, just realistically, I have no control over the face I have, you know, the body I have, very limited control over that. I mean, I can lose weight, but I have very limited control of it. So for me to even judge myself by the things that I don't have control over, it's just so odd. Like, I have a wandering eye. It will wander the fuck off whenever it wants to. You know what I'm saying? It'll do that. And for years, I was so insecure about that. Number one, because I had a family that was just fucking torturous. Like, they were horrible. I hated my family. Didn't feel comfortable saying it back then, but I'm honest about it now. Like, you know, your family picking at you about something like that, you know.
It's silly.
It was very, very weird. Very weird. But, you know, because it took me a long time to get comfortable with me. You know what I'm saying? And I finally realized I don't need anybody else's permission to look in the mirror and see a handsome man.
Yes.
I don't need you to see me as handsome for me to see me as handsome. God damn it, I'm good looking. I don't give a damn what you say. You know, I love it. I love it.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Yes, Kenny. It's like barely worn it. Yes, Purple. So that's your point. Y'all see my hair. Y'all, if you look at the videos, you'll see my hair. And sometimes I leave it out. It's just gonna be blown out in the kinkiness, and I love it.
And sometimes I don't brush
right
my
now. I got it up in the butt.
Hello. Oh man.
But different studies have shown a strong link between exposure to idolized images in media and body dysmorphia, low self-esteem, and negative body and reinforcement of harmful stereotypes. And that is often skewed or simplified, which can reinforce harmful stereotypes overall. For example, the way people of certain races or genders or socioeconomic classes are portrayed can perpetrate false or damaging narratives about them. So when individuals from marginalized groups are constantly depicted in one way or negative ways, it can shape how they see themselves. And from our viewpoint, they embrace it as culture. Like,
it becomes culture.
So many people say it's like, okay, it's our culture now.
Yep. It's like there's so much stuff that's described as culture that is many times just inaccurate, you know. Like, I think one of the times, you know, I've talked about it before. I said I wanted to do a video on it, generate enough interest on it. But I want to do this video, like, because, you know, people often say that chitterlings was slave food. And that's something that's very popular. People say that. People say it as if it was fact. But here's something, you know. Anytime someone says that, what you know about that person is that they took somebody else's word for it.
Yeah.
What you know about that person is that they did not look it up. They did not research that, because it's just absolutely not true. And not only is it not true, it's actually offensive to West Indian, West African, and even European cultures who have been indulging in chitterlings for a very long time. You know, and the andouille sausage is technically chitterlings, you know, so it's just a very interesting thing. But it's just that idea that things that become popular become culture. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's which in that case, I used to have a phrase for this back when we were doing the Black nationalist stuff. I said this wasn't culture, this was consequences. Like we're calling circumstances culture. We're calling consequences culture.
Right.
It's like that's dangerous, right? So for instance, the portrayal of Black individuals in media as criminals or the underrepresentation of women in leadership roles can lead to feelings of invisibility or internalized oppression. And these skewed representations can lead to a negative self-image and reinforce harmful biases, which is like why at a very young age, I had to stop watching movies and it wasn't like I was like, Darante, you got to stop. They were very unattractive to me. I didn't like shoot 'em up, bang, bang movies. You know, like just number one, because I lived the life. I didn't get to see it on movie. Yeah, like and they just weren't good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I didn't see Belly when I was a kid, you know, for that reason, because I was just like, it just doesn't like a good movie. And then, you know, I was on my Black Power, Black Pride thing, and people were like, bro, you got to see Belly. And I'm like, all right, these seem like really smart people. So they're telling me I need to see it. It's going to be a very good movie. So I sat down and watched it. It was just a few years ago. It was my first time watching it. And I'm like, I cannot believe I just sat down and watched this bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? Because yes, I'm disappointed when other cultures show us in only one light. But I am extremely disappointed when my own culture, every story you tell about me, this is how you see me. Yeah. Because I know you grew up with other people who were like me too. Yeah. And you're just going to write us out of the story. Like we don't exist in the Black community.
Right.
And I don't like that, because then like my whole existence, I have to defend my fucking Blackness. Because I'm not shoot 'em up, bang, bang. I have to defend my Blackness. Yeah. Like, no, fuck that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go there, but it is what it is. But David Banner did a good job of talking about this. Is why he actually started changing the way he did his raps. Which I don't know if he's changed the movies that he's in yet, but that was something that when he started traveling and going on tour, and again, David Banner, not Bruce Banner, no relations, but when he started going on tour, he realized that other people in other countries, that their only imagery of the African-American experience was through hip hop.
Wow.
And that broke his heart.
Yeah.
Because then in his mind, he was like, damn, so now every time you see me or somebody you don't know, the first thoughts that come through your mind is this, in spite of this beautiful mosaic of experience we have. But his conviction was, even though I know that that's what we have, that's not what I've represented. I know we have all of these other things, but that's not what I've represented. So these skewed representations can lead to a negative self-image and reinforce those harmful biases. And I want to hit that because I know I just hit it from the perspective of being an African American, a Black person. But man, you have to think about how many people who come from other cultures, Hispanics, Native Americans, people from Asian countries who are living over here, who are constantly having to wrestle. There's one in, gumbo, yes. Who are wrestling with their self-perception, because on one end, their self-perception is defined by what their family and culture thinks about them. Mm-hmm. But on the other end, their self-perception is defined by the new culture that they have to assimilate in, that any point of their difference is going to get laughed at. I mean, many of you can remember going through some type of high school. Maybe you went to high school with some exchange students. I did, went through a few, and Americans are not very nice to people who are different,
right?
Especially if you try to live in your difference. Mm-hmm. If as long as you're trying to assimilate into who we are, you're good,
right.
But the moment you're like, I'm gonna be around y'all, but I'm going to be me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be around y'all, but I'm gonna wear my cultural stuff. It's a problem, And so people who come from, I love it. People who have those backgrounds, that's a real wrestle, that dual consciousness. Am I being a good Asian? Am I being a good Hispanic. And what does that mean to America? And what does that mean to my family?
Right.
You know, like, oh my goodness. That, and you know, Dr. W.E. Du Bois wrote about that in his book, or he published it in his book, Souls of Black Folks, which he called it then this dual consciousness or double consciousness, which he did kind of redact a little bit, but it still kind of stands. Man, this is good. This
That's
is good.
Good points. And even looking at the lack of representation or misrepresentation of certain groups can also negatively affect self-image. For instance, if an individual rarely sees people who look like them in the media, whether in terms of race, size, sexuality, or even disability, they may begin to feel invisible and unworthy. And I remember we were watching was it the 4400 or the 100, not the 100. I want to say it was the lady who she couldn't hear, but she had she was able to, she was seeing colors anytime she heard
Heroes.
Heroes. I always mix 4400 with Heroes
because she had the same thing Lucius had in Empire, but she had power.
And I remember you saying the other week that you liked that they represented people with those challenges in the show,
because it's incredibly important. Like I remember the first time watching, I wish I could remember that actress's name. I used to know her name, but I remember the first time watching that episode where they introduced her character, and then I was like, oh, and so I looked her up because, you know, that's what you do. And I'm like, she's deaf for real. Really and I'm like, that is so cool. And then around the same time, they had done a show called Switched at Birth. I don't know if y'all remember that. Switched at Birth. And it was about a young girl who was deaf, went to a deaf school. And so there was a whole bunch of deaf people included. And I, like, you know, it sounds crazy the way that I'm saying it. It almost sounds shallow, but I was so fucking excited to see a show on this that was actually showing me what that worldview is like, because I'm kind of like, I'm the blind man touching the elephant. So I get excited when there's somebody on the other side of the elephant who says, hey, this is what I'm feeling. And so what those things give me insight into, even on a media perspective, is how other people who are not me, who are not like me, who have different challenges than I have, how they engage the world.
The world. And it's beautiful to see.
Absolutely.
And so on the opposite of that, when you have the absence of positive nuanced representation, it sends a message that certain identities are less important or less valuable, leading to internalized feelings or inferiority or shame sometimes.
Yes, man. All right. So we're going to get ready to wrap this up. We have more notes, but like, man, we're going to bring it to the end. And so if y'all enjoyed this, please let us know, man. You got to let us know in the chats. You've got to let us know in the comments. If these conversations mean something for you, you've got to let us know. We're building something powerful and we want you to be a part of it. If you haven't yet, hit that Patreon link in the description or drop a super chat. Every contribution brings us closer to bigger, better conversations. And of course, much love to everybody who's given today. Now, as we wrap up today's conversation, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed. The way we perceive ourselves, the lens through which we see our worth, our potential, and our place in the world is shaped by many factors: our upbringing, our experiences, our mental health, and even the media we consume. Yeah. These influences can either empower us to rise or hold us back from our capacity. But here's the empowering truth: we have the power to change how we see ourselves. Just like the Watcher in the multiverse, we can observe, understand, and choose to reshape the way we view ourselves and our lives. And by the way, if you haven't checked out Marvel's What If series yet, I've been plugging it all the way through.
Yes, yeah.
But it's not always easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. But by consciously recognizing and dismantling the negative influences that have clouded our self-perception, we can build a more accurate, healthy, and empowering view of who we are, which will ultimately enable us to have healthier relationships with other people without feeling the need to sacrifice our identities and personalities.
Yeah. And so today, I hope you walked away with a deeper understanding of how your worldview influences your self-image, how you view yourself, your perspective, and how much power you have in choosing that narrative in which you believe about yourself. So you don't have to be defined by outside noise. You are not bound by its limitations placed from society, media, past experiences, whoever and whatever, but you have the right to redefine yourself, to see yourself clearly, and to step into your full potential. And the best part of that is you don't have to do it alone, because guess what? We have a community here, BridgeCity Global. You have so many different avenues, partnerships, support that will challenge you and encourage you all in the same. And so if you are struggling with yourself, don't by yourself. And together we can build a space where we ourselves, through clearer lenses, one that values our uniqueness, nurtures growth, and celebrates our worth, we can live and walk in that. So as you move forward today, ask yourself that question again that we're surfacing back to. How can I take control of the way I see myself? How can I shift my perception to reflect my true potential? And how can I be a part of a community that uplifts and empowers everyone to rise no matter what? So let's choose to rise together, to break free from the constraints of negative self-perception and embrace the power of seeing ourselves for who we truly are.
That's it. And so, again, we're building something bigger than a community. We're building a movement that challenges division, empowers growth, and helps people rise above societal limitations. At BridgeCity Global, we're creating a space where empathy, respect, and collective progress drives everything we do. And we need you to be a part of it. So here's how you can get involved. Of course, you can volunteer. We need passionate individuals to help organize, engage, and amplify our mission. Your time and energy will directly shape the future of a community that values solidarity and inclusion. You can also support financially. Your financial contributions help keep us moving forward. From online programming to in-person events, your support fuels growth and creates more opportunities for others. And then, of course, you can commit to the mission, help spread the word, share our messages, invite others to join us, and be an ambassador for the change that you want to see. This is a pivotal moment, and we need your active participation. If you believe in a world where community, resilience, and growth thrive, now is the time to get involved. Let's build this movement together. Join us today. So if you're interested in volunteering, join us on Discord, where we'll have somebody to reach out to you. And then if you're ready to support financially, stay tuned for giving options in the next segment. Thank you for hanging out with us. Now on to Bridge City Support.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Troy Stober, and I run the Deepest Hell podcast. So I'm trying to gain some notoriety and get a moniker as the Deepest Hell. I'm really proud to support Bridge City and Darnaya Darice and Darante LaMar and the wonderful work they're doing connecting us and saying no to superstition. They gave me the job this week of being in charge of support. And so it is my pleasure to give you guys these messages. Thank you for being part of our community and these conversations that are helping us all grow as individuals and as a community. If it hasn't been made obvious yet, we're very serious about making a tangible impact, and your financial contributions can empower us to accelerate progress and development in key areas around the globe. If you value these conversations and the work we're doing as a community, we've made it easy for you to support. You can do so through Patreon, Super Chats, purchase merch, or through any of the links in the description. Your tax-deductible donations will be used to support the mission of building community beyond superstition, both locally and globally. If you're giving through PayPal, we'd like to highlight a few of the options available. Support Darante LaMar and Darnaya Darice specifically. Support the content production crew. Support community development, community missions, campus activities, and Help and Hope. I want to highlight that last one, Help and Hope, because it is a way our community can make a difference in the lives of members of our own community. So that's what that bucket is for, Help and Hope. We have the link in the chat and the QR codes on the screens for everyone who is willing and able to contribute to what is likely the most important cause we will encounter. If you're looking to give towards the Bridge City Weekends Raleigh event, we'll drop that campaign link in the chat as well. Before I sign off, every week we have a live poll when Darante remembers, sometimes he forgets, and then we can learn more about our live audience. If you haven't already, please go ahead and check the box. That most closely corresponds to your situation and helps us understand as a community how we are growing week over week. Okay, we'll probably throw in some numbers here. Darnaya is going to come back with some numbers about how many of you are first-time watchers, and we'll come up with that after my little pre-recorded program here. Some of us are new. Type in the chat, I'm new here, and the moderators and chat team can help get you connected on Discord. I will say that I'm not very technologically minded. I try to keep up with that Discord thing, but it's beyond my capabilities. Okay, I'm wrapping it up. No more torture. Again, thank you all for being part of the community, the conversations, and supporting our capacity to make a difference.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you, Dr. Troy. And if you haven't gone to his channel, go check him out as well. We appreciate him. Thank you again to all those who are supporting in the chat and in the background on stage here. We definitely appreciate you. And yes, Dr. Troy mentioned the poll. We did do the poll today, and we had 65 votes. And out of those 65, 48% of you said this was your first time in the Sunday sessions, and 52% you keep coming back. It's not your first time. So half and half. I love it. Thank you. A mix of newer people as well as the constant comers. So thank you so much for listening this long. I know we kept you long today, but I hope you take it back and really digest what it's saying, and also do your own research. Always remember, whoever you're listening to, whether it's my husband, whether it's me, or anyone else, always do your own research of what is being said and take the nuggets that you need to take as it pertains to your life and share it with others as needed. All right. And so we appreciate you all. Don't forget, tonight is the Ex-Pastor Calling Show. It is first Sunday, every first Sunday of the month, and we hope to make it more often. But for right now, it's first Sundays. We do the Ex-Pastor Calling Show where Cal is coming back. Darante is coming back. You can have your questions ready. Just remember, you go into a screening room with me or one of our supporting groups here, part of the team, and we get your information before we transition you over to the live. So we hope to see you at 5 p.m. Central tonight. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, commenting. Don't forget to come back after the live and comment so we can keep this algorithm going. All right. And always remember, in all that you do and all that you are, just remember to keep rising and keep being the bridge. See you tonight.
I finally found the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You could never bother me. Yes, I'm a fuck with the ball. Yeah, I finally found the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You could never bother me. Yes, I'm a fuck with the ball. Let me tell you how I know. I had to get up off the floor. I had to get it out the mud. I had to finally let it go. I know my mama told me so, but she could never really know that when a boy was getting older, that his mind was getting sober, yeah. But I'm getting closer now. I had a church, but I closed it down. Had to reverse the emotions. I had to apologize. Selling eternity, willing to die. I was just living a lie. Walking by faith and ignoring the sight. Better off rolling the dice. And what I'm saying is that I'm living and I've learned. I've given and I've earned enough of my concern. And if I'm living, then I'm living.